Do I have to?
Yeah, the left side, the one with the wire is your left ear. Mm-hmm. And then, hold on here. Let's do this. That's the microphone. You got to get up pretty close. So you got to get. You want that thing right up on your mouth.
How's this?
Go ahead. Give me a 1, 2, 3, 4.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Give it to me one more time.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I'm going to dial you down. You don't have to yell. That's good. I think it'll pick you up. Go ahead and talk. Can you hear me? You hear me?
Yes, sir.
You hear me good?
Yes, sir.
You tell me if it's too loud.
Too loud.
You good? Right there. 1, 2, 3, 4.
I have sensitive hearing.
How about there? You good?
Turn it down.
You tell me when you're comfortable.
Good.
Right there. That's good. All right, I'm good there. I'm going to play our music, our theme song, and then after the theme song, then we'll start talking. How about that? You good?
We're being recorded?
Yeah, we will be. Hold on. After the music, okay? So we have theme music.
Turn that down. Turn that down. I hurt my ears. No, I don't hear nothing now.
It's okay. I turned it down. I turned it down for you.
No, that's too loud. A little more. Right there.
It's gonna fade out on its own. You're very special, Earl.
No, I'm not.
Sensitive. You're a sensitive man. Here we go. Very special edition of the Bike Shop Society podcast. So the bike shop employee, I guess, right? Someone who's worked in a bike shop his entire life. Your entire life, Earl.
Yes.
I mean, what were you, 16?
Yes.
16 when you started at a bike shop, right? At Cycle Smithy. A place where both you and I have. It's not where we met. But we worked together there for a long time.
Yes.
If I remember right, or the story that I've always heard, that you used to ride there on your bike. You used to come in on your bicycle, right?
Yes.
And one day you just started you just used to hang out at the bike shop, right? Is that right?
Yes. Yes, indeed.
And as usually, it's usually what happens when someone hangs out at the bike shop is that if they're going to hang out that much, they're put to work, right?
No, that's exactly what happened to me.
Right.
I hung out for a while,
Mm-hmm.
and afterwards, the guy said to me, well, if you're going to hang out here every day, by all means, I'm going to put you to work. And ever since then, it's been history.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of how a lot of people get their foot in the door at the bike shop. If you're allowed to hang out, it's because they like you, right?
Yes.
They usually don't allow. I mean, I know I don't let people hang around the bike shop that I don't like, right?
Right.
So if you're hanging out, it's because we like you, and that is the main way to get a job at a bicycle shop, is that you have to be liked by the people that work there, because
of course, because you're coworkers.
And we're going to spend a lot of time together.
Of course.
At least at the shops that I've worked at, because they're smaller shops, and it's very close quarters. But these aren't shops that have 25 people working there at the same time. This is, you have a small crew, right? 6 people, 7 people.
No, you start out little, then come spring, summertime, then you hire more.
Mm-hmm.
And, excuse me, at Cycle Smithy one time, we had as many as
we had
22 employees.
Yeah, I mean, in the boom years,
yes,
when we were there, we had almost 15 salespeople, right? On the floor,
we had quite a few salespeople on the floor.
Well, we had a doorman.
Yes, we did.
Because there was so much traffic. We had a doorman who had somebody who just watched the door.
Yep.
And and a lot of salespeople, which consisted mostly of friends. They were friends of the main crew.
Right.
And then we would recruit our friends to come and work there on Saturdays and Sundays.
Yes.
because we were
Busiest days, Saturdays and Sundays.
busy days, and it was a fun place to hang out. It was a fun place to. Different people had different reasons for wanting to work on a Saturday and Sunday. I would say for a lot of the people that I knew
Yeah,
on
because they were off on their regular job and they were off on the weekends for their regular job. So they have a place to hang out and work on Saturdays, Sundays while they make a few bucks.
buy
and,
things that cost,
Right. And
That's a big
then,
thing.
and then most all of them become or were already bicycle enthusiasts.
And it was a great place to meet girls.
Right. Oh, yeah. In Lincoln Park. Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think that was one of the main motivators for at least a lot of the dudes that were working up.
Well,
in
Lincoln
the
Park
bike
was
shop.
considered probably the second most intense area in Chicago, with the exception of the Gold Coast and downtown area.
I would say Lincoln Park was probably number one at that
Probably
in that
at
time.
that time.
At that time, because
And it's right at the lakefront.
it was we were 2 blocks away from the
Yeah.
lakefront, and it was a beautiful time. It was the height of the mountain bike boom too,
Oh, yes.
right? I mean, there were
Lots of mountain bikes.
lots
back
of mountain
then.
bikes. Everything was mountain bikes in the 90s, late 90s. It was when people referred to a bicycle, what they wanted was a mountain bike.
Right.
What they were buying was a mountain bike, and we were basically turning them into what turned into a hybrid bike.
Hybrid and city bikes.
We would take the knobby tires off, put slick tires on, add bar and shifter, or not bar and shifters, bar ends,
Wider seats.
wider saddles. I mean, we were converting those bikes into hybrid bikes
Yes.
before the term hybrid even existed. Right before there was even a hybrid bike, we
True.
were basically making hybrid bikes at the bike shop.
Converted road bikes into hybrid bikes.
Yeah, flat bars and all of that stuff.
Yep.
So, yeah, it was a lot of mountain bikes. We were selling tons and tons of mountain bikes. I mean,
Yes.
I would sell, I don't know, 15 bikes on a Saturday afternoon
Or more.
or more, and everybody else, I mean, at least 6 or 7.
Yep.
You know, the top sales guys would be somewhere in the teens, and the other guys would do somewhere,
Between 6 and 10.
Yeah, that was a good amount. Plus helmets, plus
Everything.
anything with the word bike attached to it. Remember?
Customer buys a bike, goes out, put rack, kickstand on the bike, light, helmet.
All of it.
Yes.
All of it. The bike would be $350, $400, but you'd sell $500 in accessories.
Including clothes and shoes.
Everything. Anything. Sunglasses. We used to
Yep.
sell Oakleys.
Yep.
Remember?
Yep.
I mean, people would come in. I mean, there was a time you'd buy Oakleys at the bike shop.
That's
So,
right.
Yeah, those were different times. It was great, though.
Yep.
I mean, those were fun times at the shop. But going back to you and how you started, your origins at the shop, because that part gets me a lot. You used to ride down to the shop, cycle smithy, and hang out, and then they put you to work
Yep.
sweeping floors, or did they teach you how to start fixing bikes right away? What was the first
Well,
thing that?
I knew some about the bikes myself because I was working on my own. But then again, I started out where the owner started out. He always rented bikes at a small shop before he moved to the big one.
Mark Matei. This
Yes.
is Mark, our
And,
boss, Mark.
And then when a bike was to come in for a flat tire or something, he says, "I want you to fix this flat." And basically, since I knew how to fix some flat tires on some bikes, he started me out fixing flat tires. And then a bike comes in for another type of repair, and another gentleman will do it. And then I watch how he do it. And then I got into it, wanting to do it, to learn how to do it, to get into it. And they taught me a lot. And then
Who was the other gentleman that was there?
at that time at the small shop, the other gentleman, his name was Frank Miller.
Okay.
Frank Miller. He taught me some stuff. He actually taught me how to build my first wheel that I ever built. And other than that, I started working on 3-speed bikes, which at that time was the only type of bike that he rented out when he did rent bikes. And I started fixing those, cleaning them up when customers come back, then clean them, be sure they're working in shape for the next time they go out. And after that, I started working on bikes at a regular basis. He would have me do the small stuff on the bikes, and then he have the other guy, more experienced, do the more complex stuff on the bikes.
And was Mark the owner of the shop? Was he a mechanic at the time, or was it more Frank Miller that was the mechanic?
No, Mark was more the mechanic at the time, and Frank Miller worked at another shop, and then he came and worked for Mark.
Okay.
Frank Miller actually worked in the shop where it is right now, but at that time, that shop was a Schwinn shop. It was called Park West Schwinn.
That was Park West. So, and that the store where Cycle Smithy is, that's 2468 and a half North Clark. The other shop was a little farther south, right?
Mark's original store was across the street and about maybe 300 feet south.
Just
2441 Clark.
2441?
Right, small single storefront.
So 2441, that was actually north of
Fullerton.
North of Fullerton. So it was north of Fullerton.
Yes.
Okay.
South of Roslyn.
Okay. 2441.
Yes.
Interesting. Yeah, because and so there were two shops on the same block,
Practically
within 300 feet of each other for a little
yeah.
while.
Yeah, Mark would rent the bikes. The Schwinn shop would only sell and repair. They didn't rent bikes. Mark basically started out selling used bikes, and renting bikes.
Wow.
And then he started fixing them, and selling parts and fixing the used and selling used bikes.
And how many years was he at that location before he?
If I'm not mistaken, I'm going to say maybe 3 to 4 years.
And then eventually he moved over and took over the Schwinn store.
Yeah, what happened was the Schwinn store basically was the owner of that guy's name was Rich Wexner. Basically, he moved out. I don't know, because of the rent was too high or something, which I don't know, but he moved further north, moved his shop further north of Diversity on Broadway. And at that time, it was called Traveler's Abbey, which was mostly oriented to, which was mostly a clothing store, an outdoor clothing store, but he turned it into. And then he got rid of the bikes. He didn't sell any more bikes. And then Mark basically was the only bicycle shop within the neighborhood. There was no other shop except for a shop on North Halstead Street, north of Waveland, which was Cozy's, 3700 north of Halstead. So we did pretty darn good. We were at one time considered the highest quality in bike shop in Chicago. We sold the most high-end bikes. And at one point, we actually sold the most bikes as a dealer for a couple manufacturers.
Yeah, you're specialized in track.
We sold lots of Trek, and we sold lots of Miata. And then when we started getting Cannondale, we actually was on their top 10 retailers in the country.
Yeah, I was there for some of the Cannondale years.
Yes.
I mean, Cannondale, Specialized, Trek. I mean, we sold all of those brands.
Yes, and we were on the top 10 of a couple manufacturers.
Yeah, there was a time we were top 5 for Cannondale. I think the years that I was there, we were doing crazy amounts of Cannondale.
We would sell close to 2,000 bikes a year.
Not only amount, it was more not just the quantity of bikes, but it was the money. Like we were the high-end mountain bikes.
Right. We sold high-end mountain bikes. We sold high-end bikes in all categories.
I mean, it was...
Even BMX at that time.
I remember staring at a rack of Cannondale had a bike called a Raven. Remember those carbon?
Yes. Yeah, that was almost $10,000.
I mean, it was a ridiculous bike, and we had a full run of those bikes.
Right, all sizes.
All sizes, few different versions of that bike, and we had a bunch.
Yes, we sold a lot of full suspension.
Yeah, it was a unique time with those bikes and the stuff that we were doing there. Before I started working at Cycle Smithy, I was at Turin, which was the other high-end bike shop in town. Although in Chicago proper, it was just a small shop. The main shop was up in Evanston. So in Chicago, I mean, the Cycle Smithy had the reputation as the high. If you wanted to see the cool stuff, you would go to Cycle Smithy.
Yes, and we also on a good summer Saturday, Sunday, around noontime, We also 24 hours a day. We were one of the only shops 24 hours a day that gave people free air.
Oh yeah, we're full of hot air.
Yeah, we're full of hot air too, and usually every Saturday morning between time we open to about noon, there used to be people waiting in line.
A line. It was a
There used
line
to be 20, 30 people waiting in line just to use the air hose.
down the block. Remember
Yes.
that? I mean, down the block. There would be
Yes.
people lined up down the block to get air during that spring, early spring,
Early
or
spring
late
season, yes.
spring, summer season. There would be 30 people. I mean, I remember
yeah.
that it would be around the corner of people lined up with bikes.
Just waiting to get their tires filled.
Yeah, just getting air. I mean, it was a zoo.
Yes.
It was a real zoo, that bike shop, I'd show up there at 10 o'clock in the morning, and in a blink of an eye, it was 6 in the evening,
Oh, yeah. Time go by fast when you're busy.
Yeah, it was wild. It was a wild time. So when Mark took over Park Schwinn, you moved
Park
over there,
West Schwinn.
or Park West Schwinn. You moved over there with him.
Oh, yeah. I was over. Yeah, I've been with him there ever since he's been at that newer location.
Oh, you were at the old location and the new location.
Yes.
So we should clarify, you started at his old place. Was that 73, 72, 73?
I think it was 70. I think it was 70. I think it was 74.
74 that you started. And
Yeah.
he started 73. He opened the shop
72.
in 70. So he started in 72? Wow. Okay. And so you were there 74, and you've been there since.
Yep.
That's
Yes, I have.
It's been a good run. That's,
Uh-huh. Kept me out of mischief.
Well, I mean, yeah, a little bit. Some mischief. I know I know the stuff you are talking about, so I know the other.
Kept me out of trouble.
Some trouble. Some trouble. The other trouble, and Mark is wrapping it up now, so I guess it's official now. He's announced that he's closing.
He's retiring.
He's retiring, and
Yes.
the shop is closing down. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I feel a little happy for him in a way, and I do feel a little happy for myself that I haven't decided actually totally to give it up, but basically, when he's totally shut down, it's like that place being a landmark for many years. And when that building was built, that store, that location, since that building was built, has always been a bike shop.
Yeah, it's always been a bike shop. It's always been a bike shop.
It's always been a bike shop at that location since that building was built.
Yeah.
And now, people are going to come there thinking it's still there, and it's going to be so sad. And some people already that I've seen on social media, some people already are upset about it. And one of his a retailer across the street from him right now seems to be upset, but he's happy for Mark that Mark's going retiring, finally going to probably, hopefully enjoy himself.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. But it's hard. I think it's hard for all of us, right? Because that place is
it's hard
always
for me because I'm so used to it.
Yeah.
And I say to myself, and people all say to me, well, what are you going to do now that you're not going to be working no more? And I say to a lot of people, I really don't know yet. I says, I don't want to stay home and be idle. I says, I've been doing stuff all the time, all my life, practically since I was a teenager, and I really don't know how to accept this. Because when there come the time where I can't go there no more, I'll probably say to myself, what do I do now?
Yeah, that's the part that's going to, I think, at some point hit us all. I don't think
It'll probably hit everybody sooner or later in their lifetime, but
I mean, us specifically with the shop.
with that shop.
Yeah, I think.
That's going to be memories and memories rest of our life.
Yeah, I think everybody who has spent a significant amount of time in there, you more than anybody, outside of Mark and me and some of the other.
Realistically, I probably spent more time in there than anyone because Mark comes there at times and gives orders and leaves. But then again, I probably would say I have spent the most time in that shop than anyone.
Yeah, hours wise, yeah. I mean,
yes, hours.
Yeah.
Hours wise, yes.
Yeah, hours wise, yes. that's a fair thing to say.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, because there were times when especially when he had a good crew in there.
Yeah, I would get there.
There were times he didn't have to come in, because
Right.
he had a very professional. I was going to say professional crew. I don't know if we were professional, but we could handle things without.
He had
without
a crew
him.
he could depend upon.
Yeah,
he
I
didn't
mean,
have to be there.
Yeah, he had some faith in the people that were running the shop,
Right.
and he was able to get away a little bit and spend some time away from the shop. But yeah, you spent a lot of your life in that shop. I'm guessing if it's hitting me hard and some of the other guys that have spent quality time there.
Back years and years ago, there's been time where that store's been so busy that I've actually worked a couple days here and there over 24 hours where I've stayed there all night, all day, just fixing bikes.
Yeah.
Because that's how busy it was. And you only got so much space, so if you don't get stuff done within a certain time, you don't have space to put other bikes when people come in, and you don't want to refuse anyone.
Yeah, those years were great. I mean, there were all-nighters that we used to pull there. We talk about a story that you coming in and me scaring the shit out of you.
Yeah.
One night.
Yeah, I come in there 4 a.m. I mean, the doors locked and everything, and I go in there, and the alarm wasn't on. I'm thinking, who the hell's in here? And here you come up from behind the counter, jumping up, scaring the hell out of me.
I was sleeping under the desk.
And then I go in one of our restrooms, and then all of a sudden I see, what the hell? It's all new painted and everything.
Yeah, we spent the night painting.
Cleaning and painting up the shop.
Yeah, we painted the whole shop.
Yes.
One night we took everything out and we painted. We went to Home Depot. That night I went to Home Depot with a couple of friends that were painters, and like professional painters, and we bought all the closeout paint. It was like $5 buckets of paint. It was like all the random colors of paint off of the rack.
Yep,
and we came back
I
to the
remember
bike
that.
shop and we just painted the bike shop.
And then when the owner saw it, he was so surprised, and then he was mad at one point. Then he became happy because he saw what was done.
Yeah. It was shocking because
Yes, it was shocking.
The bike shop was gray on Saturday night when he left, and on Sunday morning when he showed up, the bike shop was 20 different colors.
Yes, but he was happy in the long run.
Yeah, I know. It was but that was the kind of the stuff that we were. I wouldn't say that we were allowed to do, but it didn't get me fired, and so I think that there was a lot of leeway.
Did it on our own, but
Yeah.
then again, it was something that needed to be done, and it got done.
Yeah, it got done.
And he did not have to mention to anyone to do it. He liked the idea that someone had ambition
Yeah.
to do it.
Yeah, he well, and that's how I learned how to run a bicycle shop. I mean, he gave everybody there really the leeway to learn whatever they wanted to learn.
As long as they work.
As long as they worked, and as long as you were willing to do it and do it right, you could,
You could work.
you'd be the buyer, you'd be the lead mechanic, you
Yes.
arrange things, rearrange the store, and I mean, he was the boss. He was always the boss, and we were always
Just as long it's for the good.
yeah, as long as it was for the good. And I think that team at that time was pretty.
Pretty good.
It was pretty good. Yeah, everybody was. Pretty
Everybody got along with each other.
Yeah, it was self-motivated, and everybody had their little part of the shop that they were happy kind of running, and we all it complemented each other.
Yes.
It was a really good thing. And I haven't been there for the last 15 years or so, but I think he's got a decent crew in there. He's got guys that he's been pretty loyal to him. People that have
Yeah,
been
the
there.
longest guys that have been there
while.
besides myself right now was one other gentleman, a guy named Noah.
Mm-hmm.
He's been there let me think here a minute now. He's been there over 15 years.
Wow.
15, 17 years.
A good run. That's
Yeah,
a
it's
good
a
run.
good run
At
for him.
Cycle Smithy, that's a good run.
Yeah.
I mean, at
he's,
any bike shop, really, 15 years is a good run.
Yeah, and then we got a couple others that haven't been there. Like, no one else has been there no more than maybe 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, 5 years in a bike shop is a good run under
These days.
yeah, especially these days. So you don't know what you're going to do in the bike industry anymore. Our shop, this place that we've always, I didn't go to college.
Neither did I.
Neither did you. So I mean, for some people, their college is like, people fly they have Notre Dame on their wall, or they license plate that says Notre Dame. But I think for like you and me and a lot of other people that I know, the bike shop was really where we got our education, our life's education, right?
No, that's where you learn. That's where you learn to work. That's where we learn to work with the public.
Yeah.
And that's when we get to see how public are. I mean, there's good people, bad people. There's all types of people that have come in that shop.
Well, it was a very unique shop.
Yes.
It was located in a unique place in Chicago, a pretty diverse group of people coming in. You'd have a homeless guy coming in, but you'd also have, Gene Siskel or John Cusack or Oprah Winfrey coming in as well. So,
or Ernie Banks.
Or Ernie Banks. Right?
Or Sammy Sosa.
Or Robin Williams.
Yeah,
I mean, it was a premier bike shop in the city, and we were located in one of those. It was, it was a very nice neighborhood that kind of became. It was actually not a great neighborhood when the bike shop opened. That became a nice neighborhood. That became a tourist area, right? It was like
became an attraction.
It became an attraction during the time the bike shop was there. But actually, when Mark opened there, that was not a great neighborhood, right? I mean,
it wasn't. I won't say it was a bad neighborhood, but it wasn't like it is now.
Yeah.
Now I can't say if it's great, can't say if it's bad, but it's really highly dense. There's a lot of people within a certain area. Within a square mile area, you probably got 500,000 people or more.
And real estate.
Yes,
the real estate.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
unbelievable.
It's an expensive.
Oh yeah, it is an expensive
it's an
area.
Expensive
right
area
now.
to
It's
live
probably
in the city.
It's probably one of the first or second most expensive areas in the city of Chicago.
Yeah, but when he opened the shop there, it was kind of a normal. It was a normal spot.
Normal, yes.
Yeah,
it was normal back then.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was a. Well, I heard stories about streetwalkers on Clark Street.
All the time,
right?
So still out there,
and there were 24-hour cafes and diners, right?
Right.
Yeah. Well, there was one right across the street from the bike shop when it opened. There,
there was. Yeah, right now it's unfortunately we don't have that over there anymore. But it'd be nice if we did. But no.
But there was like Kitty Corner across the street. There was a diner, wasn't there? Or down the street?
Across the street, down the street. Who you're referring to is there was the Francis's Deli.
That's down the street. I know that place was down the street.
That used to be south of the shop right now, across the street. And they used to always be packed certain times of day and morning.
So that was Francis's?
That was Francis's Deli.
Okay.
That was across the street from us.
Okay.
Yeah, they're still open now, but under different owners.
In a different location. Okay, yes. So it was Francis's.
Yes.
Okay. So I know the current Francis's, but I didn't know that place was also Francis's.
Yes, much smaller place though back then.
Gotcha. And that was a 24-hour diner place. That wasn't 24 hour?
No, 24-hour diner used to be at Fullerton and Clark.
Okay.
That used to be called Medina. Medina Restaurant. That used to be 24 hours.
Gotcha.
And then then further down south, there used to be what people miss right now still is the Belden Deli. That used to be, I think, if I'm not mistaken, that used to be 24 hours next to a jewel store.
Huh. Well, getting back to bikes. So you started doing the rental bikes and you started doing the 3-speeds and then you started doing tune-ups and just kind of working with different bikes, right?
Yes.
Was it when you got into the new store, when he took over the Park West Schwinn, is that where you started to getting into like geared bikes and the nicer stuff?
Oh, yes. Yes.
And that shop had a really unique setup when Mark took it over because it was the bike shop upstairs and downstairs there was
a slot car track.
He
put a 8-lane slot car track down in the basement. Basically, that was for him to try and get, say, income coming in for the winter because during the cold days during the winter and dog days, bike sales and bike repairs actually were almost dead during the winter, during the late fall winter hours.
Mm-hmm.
So then he had a slot car track down there and did slot car racing, and that brought in money to actually to pay the bills to keep the door open.
And that was an 8-lane track, so a big track, and it was long, right? I mean, it was
100. I think it was about 100 or 300 feet. Considering long, considering if you want to measure the whole curves and everything,
Mm-hmm.
it was over 160 feet with a real steep bank Monza turn.
Wow. You raced on, well, obviously you raced on that track.
Yeah, I raced on it. You won a couple races myself.
Yeah, you got to play on the track. I didn't see any of that. I saw the slot cars. I mean, I've seen parts of the track and parts of the slot cars because, Mark has a giant collection of those and still has a lot of those around. But
kept us busy during the winter. At least we had somewhere to go and play. During the dog days.
And I've never seen any photos of that. Does anybody
Mark may have some of them.
You think so? I'd love to see that because I've always heard the stories of the slot car track downstairs, and I remember working at the shop where guys would come in and talk about racing at the slot car track, and a lot of his friends that race there.
One of the former employees may have pictures of those who used to work there.
Mike Villena?
Yes, Mike Villena. You knew exactly. He may have pictures of those.
There's a great story with Mike Villena. Mike, a former employee of the shop and someone who used to race cars there. When he worked at the shop, next to the bicycle shop, there was a Baskin-Robbins 31 flavors.
Yes, right. He, if I'm not mistaken, he worked over there.
He worked at the Baskin-Robbins as well?
He worked over there, but I don't want to get into the other stuff with the Baskin-Robbins. Let's not go there.
He did meet a lady. He did meet his future wife there, right?
Not exactly his future wife, no. Let's not go there.
No, we won't go there. But I mean, he did meet a wife there, right? He did.
He did meet a girl there.
Okay.
Yes, but not his wife.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, we'll leave it there. But I mean, Mike has a unique history at the bike shop.
Yeah, let's not go there.
Yeah. It's a good one. Maybe next time I'll get you drunk or something, Earl. You could tell that one. No. So, who are we missing? Who is part of the original crew? Because I've only heard stories of the
original crew.
Mm-hmm.
Original crew, actually, who worked at the store where it is now. Original crew who worked there was me, Frank Miller, John Miller.
I'm going to adjust your mic a little bit.
John Miller, and actually, I could say Mike Villena.
Okay.
Mike Villena. And the other guy who used to work there was David Danik.
Dave? Yeah, I work with Davey. So I worked with Dave Danik. I worked with Mike Villena.
Right. They were the original who actually, all of those people worked at the old store that was the original store that was across the street.
So Mike did too, huh?
Yeah. Mike did too, yes. That was it.
Wow. And Dave Danik.
Yes.
Oh, I worked with those guys. I worked with Mike. I worked with Dave Danik. Dave was semi-homeless when he was working at the shop. He was like living in his car. He had like a station wagon. He was living, and he was like sleeping under the railroad, like under the L tracks. I remember.
Something like that.
Yeah, and then he was working part-time at the shop. He had kind of fallen on hard times and came around the shop. And, Mark has always been very, very loyal to those guys. I mean, I always admired that he always took care of his guys.
Mark's been loyal to a lot of people. Sometimes he's too loyal. Mm-hmm. And then again, Mark don't want to see you hurt or have bad times. But then again, there's only so much you could do for people who don't want to help themselves.
Oh, he tried. He tried very.
Don't help yourself if you don't want to help yourself. I mean, you can only get help so much until you got to do stuff yourself. So that's what happened with Dave. He finally, Mark had to finally let him go on his own, and he had to make way for himself.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't. I was younger at the bike shop. I didn't know exactly what that relationship was like, but I remember that he was there, and that there was, Mark was helping out an old friend. I've worked with a lot of talented bike mechanics, like people who really know their way around a bicycle, but maybe their social skills weren't great. They were kind of self-destructive. It seemed to happen a lot on the mechanic side of things. And maybe it's the thing that made him so good at working on bikes.
Well, if you're so good, you should market yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were nice to people, socialize good, and you know your skill, and you have pride in your work, and you get upset if you mess something up. I mean, I know I get mad at myself if I work on a bike and I forget something to do something, or I do something wrong. Yeah, I get mad at myself. I can't get mad at nobody else because I did it. But then again, if you're good at, say, building wheels, you're good at fixing bikes, I mean, and you show it and you show your pride, I mean, just like me, you could market yourself to be a good mechanic and a good, reliable, dependable worker. And then at times when you're like that, you could do like I do. Sometimes I say to myself, I don't have to worry about being employed. I can probably go to a lot of shops, and a lot of people do know me since I've been around so many years. And a lot of people will hire me. But I mean, you may not get the pay you want, but then again, there's always work for you.
Yeah, I mean, especially now. I mean, right now there's such
shortage.
There is a shortage of bike mechanics. I mean, they just don't. Not even a shortage. They just don't exist. Like
then these people don't seem to not want to work. I mean, I know some good bike mechanics right now that evidently, they don't want to work. I mean, they say, "Oh, it doesn't pay enough." Well, it'll pay enough depending upon what you're willing to do and how much you're willing to work.
Yeah, I think a lot of them find other things to do, things that are maybe a little, for the most part, things that pay more. I mean, I think that's traditional.
That's mostly what it is.
That's mostly what it is. It's just they find a job that maybe they're not as happy, but they make more money. They have health insurance.
They make more money because not like the bike industry. Bike industry is mostly seasonal, and with a seasonal operation, come wintertime, August, September, those are going to be dog days where shops are going to be slowing down, and then obviously they're going to be laying people off.
Yeah, especially in Chicago. In Chicago, I think that's one of the biggest problems here.
Because it's not year-round job. And then once someone finds something during the winter, although you had them during the spring, summer, and early fall, then next year when you need help, they're not coming back because they got a full-time year-round job.
Yeah, well, something more stable.
Yes.
It was, you're right. I mean, in the city, I think that's, here in Chicago, that's another layer on top of why it's difficult to keep good people around the shop, is that, well, especially when we were doing it, we didn't have the commuter business in the city. That didn't exist.
Right now, bicycles are basically considered essential, and a good means of transportation. And excuse me, but right now during the COVID crisis, and also right now in Chicago here, where we got all over the country right now with the gas prices like they are, bicycles have become practically a necessity for a lot of people. And I do remember, I think it was back in the 70s. When we had a gas crisis, bicycles were selling like crazy.
Well, that's when all those bike shops, including Cycle Smithy and other bike shops, opened up. So a lot of the people that are retiring, that have been retiring in the last 3, 4, or 5 years, and now with Mark, they all opened during that gas crisis, during that boom, because there was a boom there, right?
Yeah, I went through all that. Oh yeah, I remember that boom because I remember. Basically, I worked year-round because during the winter, I would do nothing but build bikes. And then, actually, I was working 7 days a week, and I went as long as maybe 3 to 4 months working without a day off. I would just go home to work, take a break, go across the street to Francis, have dinner, lunch, come back. I work from early in the morning till maybe 10 o'clock at night, go home, wake up, have breakfast, come back to work. I would have no other type of social life except for the bike shop for like a good 4 months straight because we were, real busy.
Mm-hmm.
And I was one of the only people that he had that he could really depend upon to be there to open up the store on time and everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that time was really important in the bike world here in the United States. That boom, and then we had I guess another boom in the '80s with the mountain bike. There was the mountain bike boom.
Yes,
Which a lot of the guys that opened those bike shops in the '70s, it helped solidify them. It helped really.
It supplemented their business.
They made some money during that era.
Oh,
like
yeah,
they were able to. They finally made some money in that era. Like those shops cleaned up at that time.
Yeah,
and they were able, if they were smart, they were good businessmen. They were able to.
Oh yeah, we were
to make some dough.
And also with Mark and Psycho Smithy, we also during the era we also had a. I think it was not two, but I think it was 3,000 square foot high ceiling warehouse where we stored and where we assembled most of our bikes. And we would have 2 guys working there during the spring, summer, full time.
Yeah,
and we'd have at times, at least almost once a month or more, we'd have containers of bikes come in where we had instead of having a couple hundred 100 come in the shop, we'd have like 400 or 500 bikes come in.
I remember unloading. I remember going there and just the piles of cardboard.
Oh my God!
Remember?
We had flattened cardboard stacked up over
10 feet high,
10 to 20 feet high
of just cardboard boxes. Flattened. I mean, they were
flattened. Then we had guys who would take our cardboard for free because they'd sell it. We had guys arguing and fighting over the cardboard.
Yeah, I mean that was a wild time. I forgot all about the warehouse. Yeah, there were 2 people there building bikes and then on a Saturday or Sunday when we were selling all those bikes.
We used to have a guy just driving the shop van, but just driving the shop van back and forth to the warehouse, taking bikes to the warehouse, bringing bikes back, going to the warehouse, bringing back sold bikes.
Yeah,
that's all he did.
I remember putting the list together of the bikes that we needed. Because we had sold this bike,
sold so many.
Yeah,
he had to do 4, 5, 6 runs a day.
And that was that was in the '90s. That was that mountain bike boom. That was during that time because that was a big time for bikes as well. And then then we had this big lull for a while, right? I mean, we just had late '90s kind of stuff started turning pretty down. And
downward.
That and the internet came about. And so it was a game changer when all of that stuff
Once the internet came, basically, and people got hooked on the internet and were starting to buy stuff over the internet.
Yeah, because we stopped selling stuff like clothes.
Yes.
We stopped selling stuff like glasses.
Yes, because people were buying that online.
Yeah, I mean, there
cheaper
just
prices.
Yeah, there were just categories of things that bicycle shops started losing. When
you sell online, you don't need a salesman to basically tell people about the product. They read on it, and then they see what colors you have. You don't have to show them everything.
Well, we lived that time when people were coming in just to try shoes on, and then
they go online and buy them online.
Then they go online. Yeah. That was happening a lot when I was working there. Coming what they were calling showrooming.
Yeah, they were actually showrooming, and they were actually internet shopping through a store because they'd come in a store, see what fits them good, and then they would also get a fitting done in a bike shop on a bike just so they could buy a bike online. They'll come in, see what size bike they need, see what they need, and then once we give them all that information, being truthful, then the information that we give them seemed not to be profitable to us because then they just took that information, took it home with them, and got on the internet. And next thing you know, here comes that person who we talked to 3 weeks ago who didn't buy a bike from us. Then here he or she comes with a bike in a box for us to assemble.
Yeah, things changed. Things changed quite a bit once the internet came about. Although it seems like the bike industry right now, or bike shops are at least for the people that are going to stick around. For smaller shops, we're going to be able to go back to a little bit of that of doing business the way that we used to do business. Just being small and being kind of focused on nicer bikes again and nicer product and let some of those really big stores sell the cheaper stuff and
they could sell, we'll fix.
Yeah, we do a lot of repair work.
Only thing you can't do on the internet, one thing you can't get on the internet, you can't get a person with a lot of skill and a good tool in the hand. That you will probably never get on the internet. You're not going to get on the internet to fix your bike. It has to be manually done.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
that's one thing you can't get on the internet.
Yeah, you can't get your derailleur adjusted on Amazon, And
can't get your frame straightened or your wheel trued on the internet.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. Thank God. You can't do that. That's
right. That's one thing we can't get on the internet anywhere for any service. Mm-hmm. You cannot get any manual service via internet.
Yeah.
You can get advice, but advice only goes so far if you don't have the skill and the power to do it.
Yeah, and the thing is, these bike companies are, they're putting all this really sophisticated stuff out there, like electronic shifting and some of the bikes that they're building these days.
Hydraulic brakes.
Yep. And they're not putting it doesn't seem like they're putting a lot of effort into, making sure there's people out there that can fix this stuff, A
lot of the mechanics and a lot of the shops have, do not go to school for it. Basically, a lot of that stuff is self-taught in a shop, or a person basically, he or she themselves basically would go online, get information or read, and then they would actually buy the equipment, what they need, and then they'll actually start to try and or will fix stuff themselves and do it more often. And more often you do it, the better you are doing it.
But you don't get that practice. You don't get to work on the variety of things unless you work in a bike shop.
Right.
I mean, all right, so you can build a bike. You can buy yourself a bike, or even two bikes or three bikes, right? But
there's so
much different stuff out there.
So many different makes, models, variations of bikes.
Yeah.
It's just like working on cars or electronics. There's so much out there in this world where if you're in a bike shop with the brands of bikes you carry, I mean, you would have to carry so much inventory to have every variation of a bike that you sell. And same goes for the parts.
It's impossible.
It's impossible to carry every replacement part, accessory.
Yeah, there's no
way.
There's no way you can do it.
There's probably hundreds of thousands of parts and accessories.
Well, there's over 300 hangers.
Right.
Just derailleur hangers. There's 300 of them. Like Wheels Manufacturing, I think there are over 300.
More than that actually now. And there's so much you have to carry in order to accommodate everyone and every bike. So no, there's no way you could stock.
You can't. Yeah, you can't keep up with everything.
Can't keep up with the manufacturing world of all the new stuff. No.
What's the thing that drives you the craziest right now? Like the stuff you're seeing in the repair area of the thing that's like when you see it, you're thinking, I wish I really want to retire. I'm done.
What gets me now with a lot of the newer bikes is that, which isn't necessarily needed on a lot of bikes, is that we're getting into more multi-number gearing on bikes. When we first started with a multi-speed bike, we probably started out with maybe a 3-speed, 5-speed, and they actually go up from there. Now we got bikes with as many on the rear as 13 different gears. It's usually on a multi-speed bike, 10-speed road bike, started out with 5 on the back, 2 in the front, or actually 5 in the back in single-speed front chainring. And now there's as many as 13, and the tolerance for fixing those, if if you fall or accidentally drop your bike on the derailleur side and it gets just slightly out of whack, you are not going to shift good. And it always has to be almost perfect in order to have perfect shifting. And then again, basically another thing on a lot of the bikes now, on more of the road bikes, is the electronic shifting, which has become a nuisance for a lot of people, because if that's not perfectly set, you go to push a button to electronically shift. A lot of times it won't shift, or to overshift or undershift, and you have those problems. And then when you're out on the road with electronic shifting and you don't have a way to charge your batteries and the derailleurs and the shifters or wherever it may be, then you're going to be stuck in one gear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, we were talking about that on the show a week ago, or, a couple weeks ago, about electronic shifting systems and how complicated it is, and how much it's
and the price of them.
Yeah, the price of it.
It's outrageous.
The price of it, and also just how complicated it is, and how the bicycle shop actually has to be set up now.
Yes.
For that. I mean, you
have to have software for it too.
Yeah, I mean, you need a computer. It's a computer station.
Right.
It's to adjust a derailleur on a Di2 to in order to have all the access to all the different features that the Di2 has available, you actually have to plug into a computer, not an app.
Online.
Yeah, I mean, there is a Shimano app, and to their credit, it's really high tech, and there's a lot of information out there, but it's complicated. It's complicated. The bikes.
Yes, Shimano and SRAM has electronic derailleur systems, and so does Campanello.
Mm-hmm.
They have that too.
And here's a question: has anybody from any of these component manufacturers come into the bike shop to train you guys? Have you?
No.
Nobody.
No, they mostly want to get a new product out there to try to influence the consumer, just so they could probably sell more. But then again, once you buy this stuff, you really have no support, basically, because if you're out there on a Saturday or Sunday and something happens, who do you go to?
Yeah.
There's no one there. You call them up. Oh, you leave your number. They'll call you back. A lot of times you don't get called back.
It's funny. I asked you that question. I knew the answer to that because I'm running the bike shop here. I know that it's, luckily I know the local Shimano rep, and I called him and he came in and he had to show me where to find all the information and kind of run me through
having a local rep for a shop is good. But what do you do if you're a consumer?
Yeah, I mean, and that's if you have a shop who's willing to go through the trouble.
What if you're a consumer with this $6,000, $7,000, $10,000 bike with this equipment on it, and you live out in a rural area and you need help?
Yeah. Yeah, and the bike companies are just selling you this stuff,
right?
And they're not doing anything.
No support.
There's no support at the bike shop level. There's nobody.
No support.
There's nobody coming in and explaining all this really sophisticated stuff. They're happy to sell it to you, and they run the ads.
They'll tell you what they told me when I needed some information. Oh, we have all that information online.
Yeah,
I says you can have the information online, but the information online, a lot of people do not understand what the person's talking about, and you cannot see it, the product, and how you're working on it online as good as you see it in front of you. And then again,
yeah, and it's actually, I'm not dumb or anything, and I'm not like super old where I can't understand a YouTube video or a technical document, but there's so much information in some cases because it's written by the engineers, and it's a lot of this stuff is not written by a bicycle mechanic.
No,
because it doesn't make any sense. It's not an easy procedure. It's not explained.
A lot of stuff when a bicycle mechanic learns it and he or she becomes good with it. A lot of the information the consumer can get, they'll get more support from a decent shop than they would before they get from the manufacturer at times.
Yeah. That's it. And that's if it's a good shop.
Right.
So
and
it's
then
a shop
again,
that's bothered to go and learn all that information and do the homework.
Well, if they don't bother to learn it, then people are going to come in and they're not going to be able to get their bikes worked on. But then again, when a mechanic learns it and he's real good at it, then that person basically has a step up on a lot of other shops who can't do it or who won't do it.
And I think that's why shops that do that kind of work should charge a lot of money for that.
You have to charge. You have to charge for your learning and your skill.
Yeah, you can't charge. I don't think that's fair that you're charged this same price for a derailleur adjustment on a Altus rear derailleur as you do on a Di2.
No.
You know, I mean, I think that's like dramatic. It's like an oil change on a Ford Escape versus a Ferrari, right?
Right.
I mean, those. I don't know what an oil change on a Ferrari costs, but I bet you it's not. You can't take it to Jiffy Lube
and get it for $25.
Get it for $25, right? I mean, so. Yeah, I mean, I think that's right now, that's where we're at in the bike world. It's like, okay, if you're going to be one of these shops that works on that kind of stuff, then
it's just like working on all different type of cars.
Yeah.
Depending upon what type of car, truck, whatever it may be, the price depends upon on what type of vehicle you're working on and what it needs done.
And the training and the equipment that you need to do it. You know, I think
you have to include that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
right.
It's. And also, if you're going to attract good people, you know, if you're going to attract the kind of people to work in the bike shop that you need to work on this kind of stuff, on these kinds of bikes.
If people want to work on that and learn how to do it, first of all, you're going to have the motivation, ambition, and you're going to have to willing to take the time to learn.
Yeah, you got to be smart.
If you're not going to take the time to learn, then you might as well not even take one step to it.
Yeah, and the problem is that if you have a person like that who's smart, driven, up to all of that, you know, up to learning and doing all those things, those people generally have great opportunities outside of the bike industry, and they can make a lot of money because
they can do other stuff.
They can do other stuff
because they generated, you know, a lot of the power. And they generated the skill by doing it, hands on.
Well, I mean, they're on their game, and we know those people in the bike world, and unfortunately, they all leave. You know,
of course,
they all leave and they all go work for. Well, you know, they're scooped up by the bike companies.
Some of them are.
A lot of them are.
A lot of them are scooped up by the bike companies.
They poach the best people out of the bike shops. Like they go and then they're like they go take a look at your staff. And they're like, oh, that's their best mechanic. Let's take him. Oh, that's your best salesperson. Let's offer him, you know, offer him what the bike shop can't. Let's take them. And so we're just like
it's like free agency.
Yeah.
It's like free agency.
It really is. They just come in and they take all the good ones.
It's like me. Hey, you want to work for me? You pay me. If you don't want to pay me, I'll see who else want to pay me.
Yeah. I mean, it is.
You got to have the skill.
They do, but I mean, instead of helping them stay in the shop to like service their product, they just take them and you know, there's no compensation or anything. Like we don't get anything back.
And,
you know?
and that's where the manufacturer's not looking good at the shop.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot by just taking all these people out of the shop.
Oh, they are
like helping us, like I don't know, throwing us a bone, giving us a bigger margin, doing something.
Well, margins these days aren't good for shops, considering with what people are selling online.
There's nothing. I mean, you know, it's all very short-sighted. They're not doing a lot to. There aren't a lot of hotshot 25, 30-year-old mechanics that we know.
Or you mean 20? Oh no.
I mean, there aren't like. You know, you don't see those guys around the bike shop that are, you know, 25, 30 years old.
No, your more dependable mechanics are your veterans ones who's been working on bikes for 25, 30 years plus working on bikes.
Yeah, but you know what, for you, I can't expect to teach you Di2 tomorrow. Like I can't, like if I call the guy from Shimano and I'm like, here, Earl, you got to learn how to work on Di2. I mean, it's like starting all over again.
Well, it is like starting all over again. And then considering an older person, how long is that person going to continue to do that?
Yeah, I mean,
no, you have to have someone that's going to be much younger that's going to want to stay in the industry and do it.
But they're not going to stay. You know,
they're not going to stay.
They're not going to. They don't. I wouldn't want them to stay. Not in the state that it is right now. I'd be like, you know, if I'm a friend to you, I'm not going to be like, yeah, it's a great opportunity. Stay in the bike industry, or you know, go get that job at the marketing firm downtown and make twice as much and get a 401k.
You don't have to get your hands dirty.
and make enough money where you can just buy your bikes.
Oh, a lot of
Right?
people do that.
I send kids all the time. I'm like, go get a really good job, make a lot of money, and then
You buy
come,
whatever bike you want.
yeah, and then come work for me on a Saturday. Give me one day a week. For the advice, for giving you good advice. For
A lot of people actually do that. They have
Yeah.
their regular job and they work shops on weekends.
yeah, they work at a shop on a weekend. I mean, that's because that's if they're a friend to me, if they're someone that I really care about, which usually the people that are working around the shop, if they're here, it's because I like them. I can't tell them that that staying in the bike industry is your best is your best choice.
If it was a year-round,
Mm-hmm.
if it was a year-round decent income, a lot of people would stay.
Absolutely.
And if it had
If he was even,
benefits,
Mhm.
if it had benefits and medical insurance and maybe a retirement plan like the big corporations can give people, yes, people will stay in a shop. But unfortunately, shops do not have that.
yeah, if
They
it was-
may give you or help you assist with medical benefits, but far as the others, after retirement and everything, you don't have nothing. If you don't have a good savings plan working in a bike shop, you're not gonna make it.
Yeah, it's it's difficult. I mean, even being the owner of a bike shop doesn't mean that you're. It's really just a job for yourself. Maybe you're making a little bit more than the mechanic.
Keeps yourself occupied, like I said earlier. Keeps yourself occupied. Keeps you out of mischief.
Yeah, it's not a huge moneymaker. There's other you can.
It's
I've always said
only
I could own a hot dog stand in Chicago and make more money than
it's
owning a
only
bicycle
seasonal.
shop.
Oh yes, hot dogs cost a lot less to buy and sell.
Yeah,
You make more profit selling a hot dog than you do selling a derailleur.
yeah. I know somebody with an ice cream shack who probably makes more money than a summer snow cone shack. And
Oh, yeah.
yeah, right.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I know who you're referring
Right.
to.
Oh man, it cleans up. Put 3 kids through college that way,
It sure did.
right? So, yeah. I mean, the bike business has always been a little upside down. Hopefully, there's a little bit of an appreciation for bikes again, and there's a lot of people out there, a lot of younger people now who are my generation now that's in charge, and hopefully, we can start fixing a little bit of this, at least for a part of the bike, at least for a part of the bike world. I don't know that there's another part of the bike world right now that's like those really big bike shops now, the bike stores.
Basically, the big bike stores.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, most of them are only interested in selling, no service.
Yeah.
Because they sell thousands of bikes.
Their business is selling bikes.
Their business is mostly selling. They're not basically realistically speaking, they're not service oriented.
No.
And if you go in some of these big shops where they sell a lot of bikes and everything, I tell people, if you're going to work in a bike shop, you can't be bothered by getting your hands dirty.
Mm-hmm.
You go in these big shops, everybody's clean. Oh, I mean, who's working on the bikes? You work
Yeah.
on a bike, you're going to get dirty.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes you go in these big bike shops, you go in there to have something minor fixed. Oh my God, you go in there sometimes you're going for a flat tire. Oh, they can't do it for you for a couple of days. Flat tire, you should be able to do same day.
Mm-hmm.
Or no later than the very next. I mean, that's one of the simplest repairs in a bike shop.
Yeah, well, I guess there's bike stores and bike shops now. You got your bike
Right.
stores, and then you have your bike shops.
You
And
buy your bike here and go fix it elsewhere.
that's kind of what they
That's what they're doing.
that's kind of what they're doing. And we're the ones that are supporting all the mechanical side of it. The support side is the shops. The store, where you buy that $600 bike or $700 bike is going to be at those big stores where they have
Yep.
3 versions of the same bike in different colors, and I don't want
It's
I
almost
frankly, I don't
like,
want to do that. I don't care about doing that.
It's just like going buying a bike at a chain store.
Mhm.
You go to Target, you go to Walmart, or a place of that nature, or even Sam's Club or Costco. You go to buy a bike there. What do you got to do? I mean, at Walmart, yeah, they assemble bikes for you, but the assembly is probably someone from the shoe department.
Mm-hmm.
And you go to Costco, Sam's Club, buy a bike, they sell it to you in a box. You got to take it somewhere to have it assembled.
Yeah, and some of these, I mean, in a place like Costco, I mean, I think they were selling transition bikes or evil bikes, and Santa Cruz. They were like some of the bigger bike companies were doing a version
Yeah,
specifically
Costco
for.
was selling the better ones of them all.
Yeah, a couple. They had like
again-
an exclusive version, an exclusive color with some of the bigger brands.
Yeah, but then you have to take it to a shop to have it assembled. But then again, a shop will assemble it for you, but they cannot guarantee it.
yeah, all the follow up service, all the like the
You know,
warranty and all that.
Warranty goes, you have to go take it back where you bought it.
Mm-hmm.
And people have problems with that.
Yeah, I don't.
And we cannot guarantee a bike that you bought somewhere else.
Yeah, it's. There's still a lot of stuff getting shaken out right now, but I, definitely that those bikes that we used to sell, that entry level hybrid, that entry level mountain bike, there's really very little incentive for the smaller bike shop to deal with that stuff anymore. It's just clutter in the bike shop.
A small bike shop cannot compete with the chain stores, Costco, Sam's Club, and they cannot compete with the big bike stores themselves. Who only wants to sell bikes and accessories and shoes and clothes.
A $600 bike in a bike shop. The cost to the bicycle shop on a $600 bike is probably around $400 or so, somewhere around there. And then there's $40 shipping.
There's shipping. There's assembly, and then they're selling, and then you got to warranty it.
A follow-up service, right? A 1 year free adjustments on that bike.
Right, and you get so what do you really make on a bike?
You're not making anything. What you for a long time I always said those bikes is really just to make a customer.
Right.
It's really just to make a customer that hopefully that customer comes back every year. They grow with you. They get their tune-up done. And they just will continue to buy those bikes and get their service done at your shop. But it was really just a way to make a customer to make someone happy.
Basically, a good mechanical bicycle shop basically makes their money on service and good customers. Mm-hmm. If you give good service, sometimes a customer doesn't care much about a price, but if you give good service and fix their bikes properly and they could depend upon you fixing their bikes, they will come back. It's the same thing with people, what they do with cars. You take a car to a place, they take care of it for you. Sometimes price has no bearing, and then therefore you're going to go back because they took care of you and they took care of your car.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, someone you can. It's someone you can trust. Like you. I'm lucky to have some customers that when they drop their bike off, they're like, do whatever you need to do.
Whatever it needs.
Do whatever it needs. That's it. They drop their bike off. Whatever it needs, just get it done. Well, and they pay you, and they're super happy.
With any business out there,
mm-hmm.
A lot of people may know this already. The best customer is a repeat.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's your best customer.
Yep.
Repeat customer is always your best because you can depend upon them to come back to you.
Yep. Yeah. It's, take care of those people. And I think that's kind of where we're at, especially this year right now. It's just really taking care of our regular customers and being there for them and
keeping them happy with their bikes.
Yep. Get them through the season. And then, this winter, hopefully everything will shake out a little bit more. They'll be easier to get parts. And, we've just been telling people that to wait, for the people that want something very specific, a bike, a certain Cannondale or a real particular bike, and like, just wait.
It used to be when a customer comes in, we were able to order bike,
mm-hmm.
we were able to order parts before the pandemic happened. And then what happened when pandemic happened and they got everything shut down a lot of stuff shut down around the world. Basically, that was one of the worst things that ever happened to the retail industry.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, it hit with the retailers, the service people, consumers. It hurt everyone, not just the bike industry. It hurt everyone.
Well, I think things are, we're not going back to the way that it was 3 years ago, the way that the bike industry was 3 years ago. I mean, that is kind of, that's an old way of doing business because now people are selling online and that's become a reality, and just putting, assembling other people's bicycles that way. That's just become a part of our business, now. It's something that we do now. And people are going to be buying bikes online, high-end bikes, like nice bikes.
Everything they're buying online.
Yeah, people are.
Whatever you can buy online now, people are buying online.
Yeah, people are buying online, which is it's fine. And I've always known that that was coming and it was inevitable and that was going to happen. And I'm not,
Only thing you can't buy online is the skilled mechanic and the wrench in the hand.
yeah,
That's the
yeah,
only thing you cannot buy online.
yeah. That's where being a small,
That's where we're fortunate.
yeah, being a small shop and being able to do stuff,
That's where we're fortunate.
it's a good place. That's a good place
And
for us.
once you find you a good shop, keep it.
Yeah, do what you can, help them out. Definitely support your local shop because, when they're not around, you're gonna miss them.
When they're not around, you're going to feel it.
You're gonna feel it.
I'm quite sure people around the Lincoln Park area are going to feel it.
Especially if they
shut down.
especially if they can fix what you ride. If they're good at fixing the kind of bike that you ride.
And like Mark Matei, he was the type of guy where if he knew he could fix something, or sometimes if he didn't know he could fix something, he would just try. He would never refuse a repair.
Yeah, no, I learned that.
We do some of everything. Some shops will not do what he does, and he also did what a lot of shops do. He also does, say, frame repair.
Mm-hmm.
He will braze, weld.
Mm-hmm.
He will straighten your fork, providing that he can. He will straighten your frame, and he will remove, say, a lot of shops cannot remove seized seat posts or stems, stuff like that. He does it all.
Yeah, it was definitely something, a lesson that I learned there was just, do it, take the repair and do it.
And a lot of shops actually had brought bikes to him to fix, which they can't.
It was always a very satisfying day when other bike shops would come in too.
Oh, that would make his day.
Yeah, well, yeah, when
People
they would come
say,
in.
yeah, I took this over there. They couldn't do this. They couldn't remove my pedal. They couldn't remove my crank.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we would do a lot of that. Remember, bike shops would come in all the time.
Me and Mark, we just did that about a week ago.
Uh-huh.
The guy went to two shops. They couldn't remove his C's bottom bracket cups, and me and Mark worked together as a team. We got it out.
Yeah, that's
The guy says I had this at two other shops. They couldn't do it.
Not always. In fact, those jobs were usually jobs that didn't make you any money. In fact, they might have lost you money. But it was that satisfaction of getting that job.
He liked the idea.
Yeah, of
Mark liked the idea of being able to do it.
Yeah, when nobody else could.
It's like showing off at times where, they couldn't do. You didn't bring it to the right person.
Yeah, yeah.
And Mark used to always like the saying, you didn't bring it to Cycle Smithy, and he says, they don't call me Cycle Smithy for nothing.
Yeah, it was definitely us, and I learned that from him because it makes your reputation in the community, because that word eventually filters out that you can do stuff that other shops can't.
Right, we did,
and it leads to more service.
Oh, we did. Yes.
So even though some of the jobs that I've taken here too, they're you've been stuck here all night long working on something because you took something something that required reading a manual, watching 10 videos, and doing that job. Even though you're pulling your hair out at the end of the day, sometimes those jobs they lead to more work. Because those people tend to appreciate, the ones that do appreciate it, and they put the word out there that you could do it and nobody else could. So yeah. Maybe we can pick this up later. I don't want to keep you too much longer. We'll have like a second part and a third part to this.
Okay.
Well, I know Earl just walked into the bike shop. I set up the equipment and said, let's knock one out. We didn't do one this week because my partner Danny McMahon he had to leave. He's leaving the country tomorrow. He's got a trip, so he couldn't do this week's podcast. And I thought, well, you know what? I got Earl Russell, the love muscle here. Let's when did you officially become the love muscle?
A former employee, Cycle Smithy, gave me that nickname.
Mm-hmm.
I will not mention who he is.
Oh, really?
Yes, but he gave me that nickname. Because we would always talk slang and stuff. We always would have a little poem for each other. And then and I always used to talk about certain parts of the anatomy. So he says, there's Earl Russell, the love muscle. And then he'd come in the shop sometimes in the morning. He says, what's up, muscle man? I said, well, I can't get it up these days.
I think I'll leave it right there. We'll pick it up on part 2 next week or the coming weeks. All right. Take care. Thank you, Earl.
All right.
See ya.
Bye-bye. You know who that guy was?